Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's April 1st. This is the regular board meeting of the Lammmersville Unified School Board of Education. This meeting is being recorded. At this time, please silence your cell phones and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Roll call.
Matthew Balzerini.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Sharon Lampel.
Here.
Shane Nielsen.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Hessa Pungchai.
Absent.
Approval under corrections, there's a few here. Removal of item B, and then there's a couple date changes in the calendar. The safety meeting is actually on April 15th, and the wellness committee meeting is on April 22nd. I think that's it.
Which item B, sir?
Item B on the action items.
Action item.
And what was, I was busy crossing that out. Can you repeat the other pieces, please?
Yes, absolutely. Calendar, the safety meeting is on April 15th, and the wellness committee meeting is on April 22nd.
Thank you.
I move we approve the amended agenda, amended agenda, please.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Receiving a public comment. I don't have any public comment cards. Moving along. Consent items for consideration. It's what is listed. Additionally, we're adding the amendments from the March 18th meeting. And also, there's an amendment from the March 8th meeting, which has been reflected on the website. And I'd like to also just note, item C, there's an acceptance of a $50 donation to Chanel Yates, from Chanel Yates to Mrs. Ishiyama's class.
I'll move for approval of consent items as presented and amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can't talk tonight. District administrative reports. Superintendent's report, item 1 is Career Technical Education Grant, California Department of Education.
We're going to ask Dr. Gill, she has a short board activity as we enter into tonight's superintendent report.
Good evening, Governing Board, Mr. President and Dr. Nicholas. So what we're going to share with you tonight is very, very exciting. So put your happy caps on because we don't get these moments too often in life. But we strive to get these moments very often. And first of all, before actually even going to it, I would like to personally thank Dr. Nicholas for providing us the opportunity to fly all the way in the blue sky we want to. And he doesn't stop us at every single step. He doesn't question at every single step. That's why we're able to do these kind of things. Otherwise, we would not be able to fly and be innovative and get this done. So it goes back to the leader. We really appreciate that. So we're going to do some math tonight. Okay, I'm pretty sure Mr. Clement is very happy right now. So there are a bunch of numbers up here. So what do you think these numbers mean? The top numbers first, 330, 657, 987. Let's look at those three. Okay, they add up. Which ones?
The top two end up to the third.
Or if you subtract them, can we, I'm just joking. Just doing addition and subtraction lesson right now. So the great news with this is that we started a partnership with SCHO through one of our parents. One of our parents actually brought that partnership to us. And then we went with Tapia. So 330 is Android phones and 657 is Apple phones. That means this is how many apps have been downloaded on the phones between our parents and staff and students. So our request to the community out there is please continue to increase that number by, even if you increase this number by 10 every day, that will be 300 in a month. That will be awesome. So, so that's the great number. Let's look at the second number. So what do you think? That's a bigger puzzle, huh? Anybody from the audience want to guess what those numbers mean? 518.
Is it how many jelly beans are in the jar?
I don't see the jar.
Mr. Pombo, I'm sure. I remember a jelly bean jar at Altamont's school. I think that's what you remember that from. Because he was standing there and counting the jelly beans. I remember that too.
Bottom one is the number of jelly beans in the jar after I've counted it.
Or after we all ate all of them. That is a very exciting news because that number, we already went over this, that number is the number that we received in the grant, Career Technical Education Grant. So again, along with thanking Dr. Nicholas, I would also like to thank Mr. Seamus, could you please come forward? And Mr. Jirask, could you please come forward? Because during winter break, when everybody else was celebrating Christmas and holidays and having fun with the family, 3 of us sat in a conference room and worked on this grant, and it paid for it. So we are so glad that we were able to do that. So I'm going to ask Mr. Seamus right now to explain a little bit the details of the grant.
The grant is funded in 2 separate installments. The first installment, which we'll receive in early July, is to fund the implementation of the project. And it is geared toward providing students the opportunity to engage in a Cisco Networking Academy course of study, and to begin that at Mountain House High School, actually to begin at K, to do career exploration activities, and then as they progress through kindergarten toward high school, they will have the opportunities to explore careers, to engage in mentorships, and ultimately internships. So the plan is to continue to develop the relationship that we've already begun with Cisco and Intapia and also AMS, so that we're able to progress through the first round of funding, which is the first year, and then provide a more robust application for the second round of funding. It's a very exciting opportunity for our students, one that will lead them by grade 14 at Delta College to receive certification in networking administration and security, jobs that pay in the $100,000 a year range as 14th grade students. So very exciting for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Seamus. The only other thing I would like to add on is, which is, again, I get to do the exciting part, is believe it or not, in this grant, this year is the initial year. The next year, we wrote that we will be buying 600 Chromebooks with this money, which to us is very exciting because they'll go to our kids. And the second part is lots of laptops, lots of desktops, and so on. So to us, that's a big thing. And the major focus again with this, the grant that we focused when we were writing on starting with kindergarten, so the grant will go all the way to kinder. And the money that we will be spreading it all the way to the high school then. And the 2 major focuses, the career pathways, are computer sciences through Project Lead the Way, and then Cisco.
Thank you very much. Can't thank you enough from the board just for taking the time and doing this. I know that grants are something this board has been asking for a very long time, and appreciate the time and energy you put into it. It's obviously paid off. Thank you.
I wanted to say that having done some grant writing for not-for-profits, which is different than schools, I know what a pain it is and that you have to pay attention to every requirement just to make it to the beauty pageant. So I have some sense of how much work it was, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you very much.
And I will thank you from our students for your dedication to put all this work in. Thank you very, very much. This is great news.
I just want to add to that if you paid any attention to the news in recent weeks, you're hearing a lot of companies, aside from Cisco, looking to get into fields like this where they're not requiring 4- and 6-year college degrees to be able to do their jobs. They're wanting to start internships with kids who are in high school or getting ready to graduate from high school, and this is going to give our students a leg up on some of those opportunities. And I would encourage us not to just stop with Cisco. There are a lot of big companies out there that are looking to do very similar things and start early rather than saying you need a 4-year degree to do network administration. And I encourage you, we encourage you, don't stop, keep going. I know it's hard work, but this kind of thing, when parents find out, when students find out, the lights on their faces when they find out this is something they're going to get to do at 9th grade is going to be fantastic and worth every bit of it. I appreciate all the work, I appreciate all the effort, and I hope to see more of these in the future. Thank you very much.
And I'd just like to say thank you to the three of you for your hard work and comment that it's dedicated people like you that make this district the great district that it is.
Item 2 are site reports. We'll be starting off with ALTAMONT Elementary School.
Good evening, Governing Board and Dr. Nicholas. It is a tremendous honor and privilege to stand before you this evening and those of you that are in attendance to showcase our beautiful brand new school. As you can see, the picture there displays the front of our school, and it is truly beautiful. And I'm going to ask in advance if you excuse, I've been fighting a cold, so my voice may break from time to time. I have my outstanding ASB officers with me to help present this evening, and we will call them up when we get to that point in the presentation. So this year, we have embarked upon an incredible journey, a journey of opening a brand new school. It's been a tremendous challenge, but one filled with upliftment, hope, and great wonder. A brand new school and a brand new journey. We set out to build a culture permeating a family atmosphere, rigorous academically, student-centered, and highly supportive of the community. We began by assembling an awesome staff of teachers and classified employees. It is the backbone of any school and of any successful organization. We then began by engaging a wonderful group of parents. Over the summer, I held multiple parent meetings to begin outlining the vision and the goals for ALTAMONT Elementary School. We take an awesome staff, wonderful parents, and then we fill the school with beautiful children. They are at the center of everything that we do. School is all about the kids. So without further ado, we are going to hear now from some of our beautiful children. I am very proud to call up our 4 ASB officers, and they're going to talk to you about ALTAMONT ASB.
Good evening, Matt House.
This is ALTAMONT. This is Justin Venzer, ASB Vice President.
Caitlin Fay, ASB Treasurer.
Leonie Faber, ASB President.
And Bonnie Minhas, ASB Secretary.
With their 2014-15 ALTAMONT Elementary ASB Board presentation. This is what the beginning of morning announcements sound like at ALTAMONT. ASB sends 2 students every morning to do the announcements. We say the lunch for the day along with the vegetarian option and its side. After this, we announce any upcoming ALTAMONT events and the weird holiday of that day. Then we announce the staff and student birthdays. Finally, we lead in the flag salute. Along with morning announcements, Along with morning announcements, Altamont ASB helps with Student of the Month assemblies. Every Student of the Month assembly, ASB performs a skit on the characteristic of the month. Also, we help with getting the microphones ready, playing the music over the sound system, and handing out the awards. At the end of the assembly, we open the doors and congratulate the students. Now to Melanie Faubert.
During Spirit Week, we dress up with different themes every day. We also sold different grams for the different holidays, such as a blue gram for Halloween, which was a lollipop that we put decorations on to make it look like a ghost. And then during our Ribbon Week, we had noontime activities where we did different activities every day after lunch. And so some of those activities were the pumpkin toss, three-legged race, and the pie challenge. As well as doing Spirit Weeks, we helped with the sporting events. We sold at a snack shack. We maintained the scoreboard, and as well as selling and maintaining a score, we were on some of the teams. And now I'll turn it over to Bonnie.
Throughout the year, we sold several spiritware items such as stickers, water bottles, t-shirts, and sweatshirts, and window clings, many of which we actually helped in designing, and we were part of the team who designed and approved of the designs. And we encourage people and students all around campus to buy the items and wear them to show off their Panther pride. Such as on Fridays, we encourage them to wear purple and gold and really feel the Panther pride. This February, we actually held our first Altamont Elementary School Masquerade dance. It was for 5th through 8th graders, and it was just simply for the enjoyment and pleasure for the students. And we had a make-your-own mask station and photo booth and a concession stand. Their first round of concessions were actually free with the purchase of a ticket, and students were having fun and dancing throughout the night. Next, Caitlin Fay will discuss Leadership Day. In February, the entire ASB took a day to go to the Mountain House High School for a leadership training day sponsored by CASTLE, or California Association of Student Leadership. During the leadership training day, they encourage students to prevent bullying and increase their leadership skills in their schools. The entire ASB really improved as a whole. As always, we plan to improve our ASB in school with our next steps. Next year, we plan to purchase an iPod Shuffle to play music on during assemblies, create a better organizational structure during our ASB meetings, count the spirit points in classrooms to encourage our Panther pride, extend our officer positions to lower classmen, and plan an end-of-the-year event for the school. We can't wait for next year. This concludes our presentation. Have a perfect day.
I would like to, before you guys sit down, I just want to say thank you real quick. I know how difficult it is to have positions like this, especially on school campus. A lot of work, and we all know how much work you guys put into it. Thank you very much. It's hard to motivate people and get them rallied up and have school spirit. So thank you for motivating everyone and for all the hours you put into it. So thank you very much.
And for standing here in front of the school board. We know how scary that is, and you guys were outstanding.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Melanie, Bonnie, Caitlin, and Justin. You've been a tremendous help to myself and to Altamont this year, and I can't thank you enough for what you've helped us build. And I'm going to miss Justin, Bonnie, and Melanie tremendously next year, but fortunately I get to have Caitlin back with me again next year. So thank you. Behind all wonderful children are a group of highly supportive and engaged parents. And I have been incredibly fortunate this year to work with some outstanding parents. We formed a PTA over the summer, and I am very proud to say that we've raised over $30,000, holding various community events that we will speak of in just a few moments. The money has been used in support of classroom materials, field trips, playground equipment, an outdoor sound system, our athletics programs. We are in the process of purchasing a Panther mascot costume. Pounce the Purple Panther was the name given to our mascot by the class that won the Penny Wars, which was also another PTA fundraising event. They have also contributed to staff appreciation, helping us with technology, and much, much more. Here are some of the community events that our PTA has planned. Our vision was, through fundraising, we wanted to create community events that brought our school community together. So listed here in the middle, you'll see our signature event, our Panther Fun Run, which was held at the beginning of the year. We raised over $18,000 with that event alone. And I could be wrong, but I believe that is our superintendent in the middle picture there loosening up for a run with our students. So thank you for coming out and visiting Dr. Nicholas. We recently held a pancake dinner where we raised over $2,000, and that money is going towards the purchase of our mascot costume. There is part of my PTA board and strong participants, and I'd like to recognize Ms. Brandy Leahy-Koinen, who has been a tremendous asset to getting that organization developed and building it into the strong unit that it is to support our kids and staff in school. Next, the most important piece of why we attend school and build schools is our instruction. So I've given a collage of our instructional program at ALTAMONT, which is in line with our district initiatives. At the top are rigorous curriculum design, common core units of study. These units have been put together by teachers who collaborate closely at ALTAMONT. We are proud to say we have 5 teachers on the design team for the district. We focus on performance tasks that reinforce the 4 C's that we've established at ALTAMONT: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. Also guiding our learning are SMOs, or standard measurable objectives. These are objectives that are connected to lessons that are posted daily and consistently in the classrooms of our teachers. We also provide enrichment opportunities for students. STEM education is implemented at grades 6 through 8 with Project Lead the Way, and we are beginning to implement it as well at our K-5 level. We have differentiated instruction groups which target both our accelerated learners and our learners in need of additional support. Also, with strategic support, we utilize MAP, Compass, and intervention after school. MAP and Compass, particularly also tied to district initiatives, help us to fine-tune and really target the skills that our students need additional support with, or accelerated learners who need further development. We are now going to look at part of our instructional monitoring piece, which is our MAP data. The graph in the red represents our fall scores. The bar in the middle yellow represents winter, and purple is our spring goal. So as you can see, we've made excellent growth in all areas across the board in our reading scores. And as you can see, we have surpassed the spring goal at many grade levels. The same holds true for math. In fact, math was a little bit higher than our reading scores overall in general, which is very encouraging, as math tends to be very challenging for students. I'm very excited about the instructional growth and achievement that we've begun to establish here at ALTAMONT, and I look forward, as we look into the future, to our next steps. where we are going to begin looking deeper at the curriculum and targeting further our instruction. This year was an institutionalization period. Next year, we are going to begin going deeper, really taking a hard look, a very close look at all of the tools that we have begun to implement and institutionalize this year. And I will now close with some pictures that celebrate our journey thus far. This is our folder school-wide. Our fun run. I think the staff let me take the lead.
I pulled a hammy.
Part of our Halloween parade. Student of the Month Assembly. Our kindergarten holiday sing program. One of the most adorable things I've ever seen. Those things are too cute. Our spelling bee, we actually had a county representative. She's the young lady all the way to the right. There is the crowd at the spelling bee and us judging it. Our 8th grade shirt, first promoting class in the history of Altamont. One of the noontime activities organized by our ASB, this was a pie eating challenge. This was our Read Across America pancake dinner. This is a station where they got to create stars and put them on the sneeches. A kindergarten classroom conducting a science lesson. Our 6th graders attending outdoor education camp. Our junior varsity basketball team. Our varsity volleyball team. Family science night. Recess.
And the happiest looking kids of the bunch.
Science Olympiad, where we placed 8th out of the competing schools. We took home our first trophy. Our trophy case is a little bare, but we have one, so it's a start. And we will close with this image. Says it all. We encourage you to visit our school and to feel the Panther pride. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. Before I open up for questions from the board, I just want to say thanks for coming and really appreciate the presentation. It's refreshing for us to hear real positive stuff that's going on the campus. Congratulations on opening the school. We know how difficult that is. We've seen it a few times now. And but a lot of school spirit, a lot of school pride, so I'm glad to see it. Thank you very much. If there's any questions from the board.
Thank you, Board Member Balzerini.
I have nothing to say. Those faces say it all.
I need him to do my hair like.
I'm looking forward to seeing Pounce.
Yes, we'll definitely put that announcement out when he arrives. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next site report is for Questa Elementary School.
Good evening, Dr. Nicholas, Governing Board President, and trustees. Thank you very much for having us tonight. Hopefully tonight will give you a good picture of who we are at Questa this year. And we're doing it as a team effort. So in a while, you'll see our ASB officers and Mrs. Busatil as well. My first slide, as you can see, has our slogan for this year. Every year as a principal, I try to begin the year with some sort of theme to try to bring us all together. Last year was Pride. And this year, as we lost more than half of our population to Altamont, I knew that we would have to start building back our community again and that team. So as I sat at home over the summer and in Hawaii for 2 weeks, I sort of sat there and thought, okay, what are we going to do this year?
Okay, you can sit down now.
I thought, you know, and I was talking to some kids on the beach, some locals, and they were talking about opportunity and how sometimes they feel like they're stuck just on this island and they can't go. And I asked them, what do you want to be? And they said, well, we're not really sure. And one of them said, nobody's ever asked that of us. And a lot of times, those of you who've worked with me or gone to school with me know that I have these real life talks with our 8th grade, and I always tell them that you always have to have goals. Because if you don't have goals, you're kind of like a ship in the sea, sort of going, not knowing where you're going. And that's hard to navigate. So the theme this year was dream big, work hard, never give up. Okay? And hopefully as ASB comes up, Ms. Bustillo comes up, and at the end I'll be able to tie it all together. Okay? I'll start off with Questa School Foundation. As a whole, we're not a successful community without parent support. And as you see, I have 4 officers this year because half of them, or a little less than half of them, went over to Altamont, which was a good thing for our community because even though I'm at Questa, I still think of those kids over there as part of my kids as well and wanting them to succeed. So the main mission for us, even though our officers were only 4, was not so much fundraising, but community building again, trying to have more opportunities to bring the community together versus always asking for money. With that, here's our financials, as you can see. And I don't have my glasses, but you can see that we're at a balance of $29,000, and we started at, it looks like $30,000. And the main thing that they support us with this year is Art in Action. You know, one of the things that we tend to lose, and you're all very aware, is the arts in schools. So they try, you know, I asked them to help supplement with that. And it's a good program, and we're still in the process of getting everybody to buy in, but the most important thing to me is that we give everybody the opportunity to be there and to participate. Some of the things that they support, like I said, the main thing is Art in Action, our artists in residence, our incentives for the AR program, 8th grade promotion, extracurricular activities when we need it, laminating film, which is very important to our teachers, outdoor education scholarships for those who can't afford it, the parent-teacher socials, planners and folders, playground equipment, and staff appreciation week. Major fundraisers, of course, parent donations, our fall carnival, E-rate, mixed bag catalog sales, ice cream Fridays, dinner nights out, box top for education, and this month on April 18th will be our auction. And there is upcoming events, like I said, the theme this year is Denim and Diamonds for the auction, and then on May 30th, we like to end our year with Questa's Got Talent, which is our talent. Okay? Okay, is that me? Yeah, just stop. Try again. That's just my luck, right?
It's a Panther Pride trip.
Where's that counts? Okay, no problem. See, and I wasn't sweating yet either, and now it's going to start coming. Okay, so before I call my ASB up, I definitely wanted to tout them and sing their praises because at the beginning of the year, this year for ASB, Mrs. Morris is our advisor. And we loosely had somewhat of an ASB leadership class until now. And when we sat them down, Mrs. Morris invited me to come in because typically when we look at leadership classes, sometimes people think it's just the popular kids. But the one thing we wanted to stress to these kids was that when you are a student leader, you're not there to serve yourself or your own popularity. You're there to serve the rest of your community, your school. And for the most part, they all took it to heart, which means that they bought into what we were saying, and that makes me really proud. So if we can go to the next slide.
Mr. Vergara, can you move over in front of the microphone?
I'm sorry,
just so we can,
I'm sorry, okay.
Just because we have the video going. we wanna
No
make sure we
problem.
hear you.
One of the things that they do is do the skits or videos for our Student of the Month assemblies. And this was the very first one that they did on their own. And this is one I keep on my desktop and watch because I'm very proud of it. So we'll take a look at that real quick if we can, please. We're not. Really? Okay, so maybe we'll skip the video, maybe I'll send it to you guys later and you guys can see that, all right? And then we'll maybe just get back to the presentation and we'll call them up. Yeah, we'll skip past that slide if it's locking it up.
Sorry about that, Lem. I would have liked to have seen it.
No, it's okay. We'll send it to you guys. You guys want to come on up?
Okay, somebody better brought me a tutu.
We needed those shirts at Lammmersville, the camo.
If your actions inspire others to dream more, become more, you, I, and we, ASB has inspired our students to dream and learn more by having one professional basketball player, Mighty Mike, talk to us and teach us how to dream with determination, realization, with our energy, with our actions, and with our motivation. We also have our character count assemblies, which encourages students to show their true colors and which awards them for a specific character, which also teaches us that even though we don't get it the first try, we try again and we do better the next, which separates us from other students because when we fall, we come back up again. With Red Ribbon Week, we've encouraged students to also set goals for themselves in the future, teaching them how to learn from their past, do better in the present, and to affect their outcome in the future.
ASB inspires others to do more. We inspire our whole community to do more by, we hosted our first ever yard sale the beginning of the year, and we're hosting another one this month.
We inspired our students to set AR goals for themselves, and when they reached those goals, we awarded them at our assemblies.
ASB also hosts amazing fundraisers. One of the famous fundraisers is the Turkey Trot.
Because we know that at Thanksgiving we get a little bit chub.
And last but not least, we have
AR honor roll. We award the students who have worked their hardest throughout the school year, and we award them with principal and superintendent honor roll awards.
ASB inspire our students to become more. This year we started a new event called Playground Pals, where students during their lunch break could go help and play with county kids, just like talk with them, play with them, or just simply know them better. And also, we also started a new one-week event called TV Turnoff Week, where every day of the week, people will come to our school and have fun community-building events, games, and just have a better community together.
We've also started a new program called Caught Being Good. In Caught Being Good, we award students that show good behavior and help our community. To build school pride, we organize Spirit Week, where we gather together and show school pride.
In our school, we show school pride because we're all in this together. You know it.
Thank you, guys. Great presentation. If you would have seen it, I'm kind of glad it didn't work in a way because they're part of the presentation. They did it, and it had all the cool transitions. And when it came back to mine were just switching slides. So I'm okay with that. If we can go to the next slide, that'd be great. The one thing that I've learned as a principal is that along with high bar, the rigorous instruction we have at schools, that kids learn better when they feel connected. And that's the one thing that my ASB this year is doing, is that they're creating opportunities for all our students to feel connected to the school. And when people feel connected to the school, then they're invested in what they're doing. And when they're invested, then we see the possibilities outside of the classroom of friendships and activities, but also we see the effects inside the classroom as well. So at this point, I'd like to call up Mrs. Busatil with our MAP data.
Good evening. I feel slightly underdressed because I don't have a tutu. I think they're working on that for me. I feel a little bit left out. I'm going to go ahead and go over our MAP data briefly. So looking at our MAP data for math for the winter, you see we're continuing to make growth across all of our grade levels. And the one thing I want to point out from this slide is that in grades 2nd through 5th grade, they've already met or exceeded the goal for this school year. And in regard to the reading, again, across all the grade levels, we're seeing a lot of growth. I mean, it's not uncommon to see the largest leaps in our primary grades, but we're continuing to see the students develop in all areas. And again, 1st and 2nd, and then 4th through 7th, all also have met or exceeded the goal for reading. Moving on to our focus grade levels, 1st, 4th, and 8th. You see for 1st and 4th, it's for the areas of reading. So we're doing very well there, continuing, it's like a little snapshot for those subject areas. And then for the 1st grade reading, the goal was 177. So with 178, we've exceeded that goal. 4th grade was a 202. Exceeded that goal. And then for our 8th grade math, it was a 239. So that's where we're continuing to still strive towards that goal. And then for our focus area for 1st grade reading, overall the goal was 177. So while we do have some of our subgroups that haven't met that goal, they're all really moving towards that. And by the end of the school year, we will have met or exceeded that goal in all areas. I'm very confident about that. And then moving on to our 4th grade reading, the goal was 202 for our significant subgroups for our Filipino and white student populations. And so we met that as well. And just the last little area for the 8th grade math, we did have a 5-point gain for our math students, but our subgroups are below 10 students, so it's not something that's considered to be statistically significant for the report.
So why does it all work? And as I think about, like I said, when we come together, we understand that the parents support us, the students support us, and the teachers support us. But why it's working this year, I believe, is that we have a clear directive on where we're heading as a district. We're able to articulate what our initiatives are, where we're heading, and how we're doing that. And once we do that, we don't just say, teachers, this is what you got to do, go do it. You know, we provide the training, we provide the time where they can come together and collaborate and talk about what's happening in the classroom. Now, while it's not a perfect process, because this is our first year of implementation, we're learning a lot about each other, about what we can do, and more importantly, how we can help each other get through this process. The teachers take the direction, they implement the strategies, but also we find success too when they're able to have the freedom to be flexible in the classroom, to understand that while this is our directive, they know who their students are. And they have the freedom or the permission, the professional freedom to go ahead and adjust these units of study. But the most important thing that I tell them is that while we're all working on the same units of study and you make the adjustments, make note of that. You want to share that. Because if you've done something differently than your colleague and it worked for you and they need help, you're able to share that strategy with them. Okay? Along, like I said in the beginning, strong parent community support for us, the positive school culture that ASB builds, and then that part of all our ships, all parts of our community sailing in the same direction, that collective goal and theme for the year. How we're going to keep it moving. We're not going to fix something that isn't broken, but we're always going to be open and honest with each other and talk about where we can improve. Being reflective as teachers, and all of the people who work with me can say this. At the beginning of the year, I always tell them that our bar here at this school is that you look back at the end of your day and you ask yourself what you've done. Was that good enough for my own son? Was that good enough for my own daughter? Because if it was, there's no higher bar and we've achieved that. But if it wasn't, we have to be honest and we have to be reflective and we have to look at our practice and be honest and earnest in our ways to improve. The way, also making sure that students are supported. You know, we look at our targeted instruction times such as DIG and after school interventions, not just saying, you know, we're going to support the kids who need the help, but also providing opportunities during targeted instruction time for the kids who are achieving at a higher pace as well. The one thing I stress too is our teachers always be open. You know, if you ever work with a teacher or live with a teacher, you know that that classroom is their kingdom or their queendom. And a lot of times when you give them something new, it's like, don't touch it. But again, if we're going to teach these kids that learning is important, we also have to reflect that. And for the most part, the teachers buy into that. But also the way we keep moving forward is providing more opportunity and also looking at our children for who they are, the individuals. You know, here in Mountain House, we talk about the diversity, valuing every student and validating who they are and where they come from, okay? Finally, just trying to bring it back, the importance of setting goals. It starts at a very young age, starts at the primary level, going through. And I always tell kids, it could be something as simple as getting an A on a spelling test, you know, going to a high school you want to do, making a sports team, or going to the college you want to be at. The most important thing, like I said in the beginning, is that you have to set goals. There's no way around it. You know, you can't go through life without a direction. And with that, once we help them set their goals, then we give them the tools to help achieve those goals. Most important thing to me is a message that I send the kids is that nobody sitting next to you around you is born smarter than the other. The difference between the person who achieves more is that they've chosen to work harder. So it's always within your grasp to do better, to achieve what you want. And finally, once we help them set goals, we give them the tools to have that strong work ethic. We make sure we're there to catch them, to make sure to reward them when they achieve those goals and also to prop them up when they fail. The one thing I've told the 8th grade this year is that in life, when you chase your goals, you're going to run into obstacles, challenges, and roadblocks. But the one thing you have to understand is those aren't there. They're not there. They're not there meant to make you stop. When you hit a roadblock, a challenge, or an obstacle, those are there so you can find a way to go over, around, or through. And that's where we grow. That's where we find our most success and the most rewards. So that brings us back to our theme. Dream big, work hard, never give up. Thank you very much for your time.
I just want to say thank you, Mr. Vergara, for the presentation. A lot of the same conversations that we're having at the board level is happening on the campus, and that's obviously the goal. It's through our strategic planning and the implementation of Common Core and LCAP. These are the same conversations. I'm glad to see that they're happening with you and your staff, and that your students are responding well. And I couldn't agree with you more that, you know, that your students need to feel a connection to school. And thank you for the presentation. You've demonstrated that you're doing that, and it's much appreciated.
Thank you. And if I didn't make it clear, I hope you all know that when I say that the expectations are clear where we're going, that we know that it comes from top down from you guys. So thank you very much.
So no matter how many little dance steps you do there, you cannot outshine your students.
Well, absolutely not. And that's not the purpose.
Very much.
Thank you.
You guys were awesome.
Thank you very much, Lem.
Anything further in superintendent report?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to the district maintenance and operations report. Ms. Kaiser.
So I wanted to mention the gopher control over at Wickland went from 95% to 90%. The gophers have migrated now to the quad area and the parking lot. So traps have been set. The fields at least have been seeded. They're planning to mow it tomorrow, so at least that will be behind us. But they'll continue to monitor the gophers. Of course, it's a district-wide, but when I heard it went from 95 to 90% and found that they had migrated elsewhere on the campus, I did kind of chuckle.
So is the caution tape because they're working on the field?
Yes,
Okay.
those are some of the irrigation
Actually, to try
repair.
try to corral the gophers, but they ignore it.
Over here, there's no children running here, so come here
Right.
so we can trap you, yeah.
Yes, so, and then the warranty work orders for the 2 new facilities we opened, there were actually 209 warranty work orders that have been submitted to date. 25 of them are pending, some of them very small. Some of the larger items will be taken care of at the high school, those being parking lot repairs, concrete removal, resealing, or actually sealing the floor in the culinary arts room, and then there's some construction garbage that they left in the tennis court area that they will be taking care of. And then tomorrow, they are, the carpet people are going to be checking out ALTAMONT classrooms because the installers had already been out and stated it was not due to their installation of the carpet, that it's the carpet quality itself. So we're into that phase.
Yeah, been there.
Not the first time we've done
Nope,
this.
not the first. Very good.
So I have a detailed list if you wanted to see the types of work orders that have been submitted to date, but I just wanted to point out a few of the ones that I had thought would be important to mention.
Probably moving forward, we'll want to hear a little bit more information if, for some of the outstanding items,
Will do.
unless anyone from the board wants anything further. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. At this time, as we kind of transition here, if any of the students would like to take off, you're more than welcome to stay, but
It's exciting.
you've already seen all the good stuff, so it's not going to get any better than that.
Thank you, students.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And moving into committee reports, item A is the Facility Use Committee. We have nothing to report. The date for our next meeting's on there. Item B is the District Advisory Committee.
Would you like to report on that?
Sure. The District Advisory Committee will be meeting next on April 20th at 6:30. The documents we've been working on the LCAP and the LCFF stuff will be put on the website tomorrow, so if you have any input on that, please let Dr. Nicholas know.
And the committee met and we did a few activities that helped to give the district administration some guidelines as to what the community and the participating board members, what we see as the goals to help to shape the LCAP report. So it's a very productive committee, and I'd like to commend the district administration for their preparation for those meetings. They move fast, they're informative, and we get a lot of work done in a very short period of time.
Very good. Item C is the District English Language Advisory Committee.
The District English Language Advisory Committee met last Wednesday at Wickland Elementary. I wanted to say that the meeting was very well publicized. We received no less than like 3 robocalls and quite a few emails went out. In spite of that, it was only attended by, it was lightly attended by members of the community. I believe all of the community members were parents, predictably were parents of English language learners. The meeting including the following components: high-level review of the Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, and Local Control Funding Formula. Review included a brief discussion of the purpose and agenda for LCAP, as well as identification of conditions of learning, student engagement, and pupil outcomes. Also included a discussion of the 8 state priorities for LCAP. And then they reviewed the transition of the state methodology for performance measurements and then went into those performance measurements. And the reason I brought that up was because then the attendees, including the parents of these English learners, were invited to participate in an activity to identify the things that the district can do to improve the LCAP factors, which, you know, the conditions of learning, student engagement, and pupil outcomes specifically for English learners in our district, which I believe also, you know, is part of our obligation under the LCAP is to enlist that feedback. And I think it's great that the district is incorporating that into the committees, you know, basically enlisting that feedback and actively seeking that feedback basically at all levels of the organization. And I think that's awesome. The agenda for the meeting included an action item to approve the English language master plan so that we could bring it to the board for approval. However, due to a lack of IT sophistication on the part of two committee members who will remain nameless, but their initials are Colin Clements and Sharon Lampel, we were unable to review them before the meeting. That was our fault. So it is totally our fault that we're not, the committee is not ready to bring it to the board. That will be voted on in the next meeting, which is Wednesday, April 29th at 6:30 at Mountain House High School. I can't remember the room number, but it's in the administrative building. I did want to provide kudos to the team. They did a great job of presenting the concepts of LCAP, explaining how the concerns of the parents of English language students can be articulated in terms of those three categories, and then enlisting the feedback to see how the district can move forward and do better for our English learning students.
And that activity that was done at the DLAC meeting is the same as an activity that was done at the first DAC meeting. So the many groups across the district are getting the same information, doing the same activities, being asked the same question. So you're getting guidance from all of the areas in the district, the representative areas. Thank you for that wonderful report.
Yes. Thank you for the report. That's, I'm glad to hear the crossover. That's, we're hitting it all fronts. Item D is the Gate Arts and Music Committee.
We've got our next gate meeting is April 28th at 6:30, and I hope we get a better turnout than we had at the last committee meeting.
Item E is Safety and Crisis Response. Kush, I don't think we have anything to report, do we, right now? No. Okay. And the future meeting is on the agenda, so. Item F is the Wellness Committee.
Our next Wellness Committee meeting is April 22nd at 3:15 here at the district office, and I have nothing further to report.
Okay. On to governing board reports.
Would it be possible for the upcoming gate meeting because the DLAC is so well publicized, and granted, only, and I'm not asking for that much public, but some robocalls. Sorry.
No problem. On to governing board reports. You got anything further?
I attended the DLAC committee, which I've already spoken to. I did attend the Lammmersville School Foundation Camo and Lace dinner and auction. Trustee Pombo's going to.
In lace, by the way.
I'm sorry?
You looked lovely in lace, by the way.
I actually wore all of the camo and lace that I own, which is precisely none. I did want to also congratulate Mountain House High School Visual and Performing Arts, the VAPA boosters, because it has received its tax determination letter and it is an official 501c3 organization now. That is all I have to report, in, sir.
So I also attended the DLAC, obviously. I was also at the Lammmersville Foundation Camo and Lace. What a great night. Fabulous fundraiser, awesome activities. You could tell how much work went into preparing for that event. It was fabulous. I also attended the DAC that Member Pombo reported on, and bingo at Mountain House High School. That's always fun for the VAPA boosters.
As Directors Lampel and Clements mentioned, the LSF auction dinner dance was held on March 21st. They, as well as myself and Dr. Nicholas and Dr. Gill, were in attendance. It was a very enjoyable evening. We brought in over $24,000 for the Lammmersville School Foundation, and there should be somewhere between $17,000 and $18,000 in profit for the evening once everything is totaled up. And I'd like to thank the members of the board and district office who were in attendance and who participated in the auction. I had an enjoyable evening bidding against Director Clements. He beat me a few times, but that's all right.
You beat me more than I beat you.
that's my report.
I'd like to add something about the LSF event. You know, usually when you go to these events and they're cooking for so many people, the food is not something you talk about. The food was outstanding.
It really was. That's absolutely true. It was a great event.
Yeah.
For my governing board report, Saturday I took a trip to Sacramento for the CSBA Board of Directors meeting. It was very extensive. We had a couple presenters from the California Department of Education that came and presented about Smarter Balanced. I forward on the PowerPoint. If you get a chance, check it out. It also has some links in there where it'll take you to the websites directly from the PowerPoint, and it's pretty good information. I picked up a few things I wasn't aware of, and it's you know, a lot of substance. Also, CSBA is really bringing the fight with the Senate Bill 858 with the reserve caps, and they're putting a significant amount of money, they're putting like $750,000 into a campaign to try and fight the legislature on this. So there'll be a lot more of information coming on that.
What's to be said for us partying with Lammmersville and you're in Sacramento working your tail off?
Moving
It's
on
a
to
tough
action
job.
items.
It's some, you know.
Moving on to action items. Item A is consider approval of public disclosure form AB 1200 salary benefit settlement with Lammmersville Teacher Association for K-8 grades RCD units of study hourly rate. Staff report.
It's just a public announcement of an MOU we signed with our teachers union about the increase in RCD units of study hourly rate of pay for 2014-15.
Any board discussion?
I'll move for approval of the Form AB 1200 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B is a scratch, so item C is consider approval of new certificated job description, computer science teacher. Staff report?
None.
Move to approve new certificated job description, computer science teacher.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D is consider approval of second reading and adoption of the 2015-16 Safe Schools Plan. Any staff report?
None.
Discussion, I would just like to again thank Dr. Gill. A lot of hard work. I know it goes into that. Even after the committee does all what we do, you still have to put it all together. So I know that's very time consuming. Thank you.
Mr. President, I have to take issue. You thank staff every time, and you don't give us the opportunity to thank them first.
Usually when the chair does it, it's on behalf of the board.
I know.
With that,
Move to approve the second reading and adoption of the 2015-16 Safe Schools Plan.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consider approval of second reading and adoption of the 2015-16 Wellness Plan. Staff report?
None.
Any discussion?
I just had one correction, and I'm feebly trying to find it. On page 121 of the packet, in the description of the district, it says that there are 3 newer elementary schools within the Mountain House development, and we have 4 elementary schools and a high school within the Mountain House development.
Last we checked.
Today.
Yeah. As of today.
Was there a problem with that? Am I missing something?
Well, it just,
He has to change 3 to 4.
Oh, from 3 to 4?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want, that's what I was trying to get at. Sorry, I still can't find it on my thing here. So, we got that from 3 to 4. Can we amend that? Yes, okay.
and I will move that we approve the second reading of the adoption of the wellness plan as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Information and discussion items. Item A, Challenge Day, April 21st.
Mr. Faubert is going to present that, please.
As you know, our Challenge Day that was discussed a few months ago is coming up on April 21st. we have an opportunity to work with about 80 students and 25 or 30 adults who will come to help participate and facilitate in that day. I've sent an email to the whole board. Some of you have responded to me, but there's an opportunity for you to participate in that. We've also invited members of the CSD board. We've invited somebody from the Sheriff's Department to come. We've heard back from some of those people, but if any of you are wanting to come or willing to participate, I know some of you can't, but we'd more than welcome you to that day. It's going to be very important for us. We're going to have 2 student representatives from each elementary school, and administrator or teacher from each site, and we're really excited to be able to move forward with this in light of bullying is something that is very prevalent in our world, especially with technology and their ability to remain anonymous in their bullying. And so just to remind you, the students that participate in this day are actually a cross-section of our campus. We don't just invite the leadership kids. These are kids who have been specifically handpicked to come, and it is truly a cross-section of our campus that's coming. My daughter happens to be one of the elementary school people who's coming, and she's heard of some people who are coming, and she said, how come these people are coming? And I said, well, it's going to be all kinds of people coming to this. That's the whole point, is you're going to be socializing with people who may be the ones doing the bullying, and we're going to learn a lot together that day, and hopefully by the end of the day, you'll all be ambassadors to be able to go back to all of the different groups on campus and say, look, this is not going to happen anymore, and here's our plan to make sure that it doesn't happen anymore. And again, the hope is that after this day, that it will not only spur on some action by the students at the school, but the hope is that it will spur on some action from the adults that are involved, which is why we're trying to get a cross-section of adults. It could turn into, and I would like it to turn into, some sort of task force that we could work together across our community and with all kinds of different people to be able to inform people. So we are also, after Challenge Day happens, with the students' help and the adults' help that are in it, to plan a parent night and also to plan a whole school anti-bullying presentation for the whole school, so that it's not just the 80 kids that participate that are the ones carrying that message.
I'm curious, what was your daughter's reaction? Because she was obviously concerned that there were students there that maybe she had experienced some bullying with. And after your justification, what was her reaction? I'm just curious how, your average everyday kid reacts to something like that.
Well, she was a little reticent because she said, well, this one kid is somebody that is not necessarily the kind of person you would want to, that you would think would bring an anti-bullying message back to their peers. And I said, this is the reason. There's a lot of very sensitive information that people will share with one another during this day. There's facilitators that are going to help us. And she seemed to get it, like, oh, I get it. We're not just inviting the good kids again. And I said, we don't need to preach to the choir. We need to make sure that we're preaching to everybody so that they get it and they, they understand how to bring that message back. Because the kids who may be the bulliers or kind of on that side are the best people to talk to their fellow bullies about, look, this isn't okay, and I've learned now that it affects other people, and it's something that it's important for us to build the community at our school and accept people for who they are.
So your daughter had the advantage that you're spearheading this and you know a lot about it. Are the other elementary students getting this detailed and explanation so they don't go in with any anxiety?
Right. So I don't know that the kids are getting the explanation beforehand, and I don't think that that's a negative thing. I think that the facilitators are very artful at breaking that barrier down from the very beginning and telling the kids from the very beginning, you are a mixed group of people. Likewise, there is a pre-meeting for all the adults and a post-meeting for all of the adults, so that we know as well how to address the issues once Challenge Day is over. There will likely be some issues that we'll have to address. Our counselor's actually gone out and sought the help of one of the university counseling programs and is bringing an intern in for Challenge Day and the day after Challenge Day at the high school to offer support. And I know that she's ready to offer support to any of the K-8 schools and the kids who come to offer support. She can, come to the sites and offer any support that kids and teachers may need after that happens.
Thank you.
It's a great concept. I've been involved with the Every 15 Minutes program, which different issue, drinking and driving, but it brings the same concept where you get a cross-section of students. And the one thing that program requires is they do a post questions, they do a survey following, and then they do a lot of kind of intense follow-up with the students along the way to see if it really affected them. So same kind of thing?
Yeah, and that's the Challenge Day folks kind of help the counselor at the school to follow up with that, and that's will be her job afterwards. And that's why we're looking for our counselor to kind of spearhead that and organize the kids that have gone and get a core group of them to start a group that will say, okay, what are our next steps? What kind of speaker do we bring? What kind of activities do we need to do as a school? How do we build this into our culture? And then, hopefully the following year, a different group of different 80 kids gets to go to Challenge Day next year. And then you have more kids who are ambassadors for the school by the time that you get going and you do this on a yearly basis. There's a good percentage of your kids, 10, 15% of your kids who have experienced this day, know the language of anti-bullying, and then it kind of goes out into a club, and then those kids spread the word in their own way.
Well, I have class myself, so I can't make it, but I'm eagerly waiting on the results of that.
I'd love to give a report once it's over.
Please do.
So that we can
Yes,
appreciate
please.
that. Sure.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much. You guys thought this was going to be a quick meeting. Item B is Assembly Bill 2073, Alcohol Use on Campus, for discussion.
So in January, a bill was approved that allows the use of alcohol, or allows districts the use to set policy that allows the use of alcohol on campus. So we've been working with Lozano Smith, our attorneys, to bring a recommendation, or at least a conversation about a recommendation for policy. The brief that's been provided is what we have so far. CSBA has not chimed in with a model policy, and our attorneys are also looking for other policies that have been brought forward. Lozano Smith's position is that we should stay away from allowing alcohol use on our campuses with the liability factors that are tied to it, which is the gist of this thing. But we thought we'd bring it forward and allow the board to have an opportunity to discuss it while it's just this new law that was passed, and districts are wading into the pool of this.
Being part of the Facility Use Committee, it came up. It wasn't really discussed. We kind of, both Shane and I said that we wanted to wait till we got kind of feedback from the board, but I know that there's committee members that have a strong opinion one way or the other, so just wanted to see where everyone, started the conversation where everyone stands on it.
I'm kind of torn on it, honestly. I can see how foundations would want us to have such a policy so they could have adult events with alcohol, and those tend to raise more money. But I am very worried about the liability. And I don't know if I would want us to completely shy away from it now. I want us to watch and see what happens out there in the education world. I don't want us to be the front runners.
No. I had in my notes exactly, I was like, I really don't want to be the test case.
No.
And that's,
What I refer to as being on the bleeding edge or leading edge, right?
And I may be the only one who disagrees there. While I get the concept of liability, at some point we have to look and say, okay, you can't always draw the line at liability. Otherwise, we're sending the kids to school in bubble wrap, and they can't cross streets. We have to have street closures. They can't ride their bikes to school. I mean, at some point, there's just a line we have to look at. And I'm not saying to draw that line completely on the other side. I will just say this, Mr. Pombo, you raised a significant amount of money at your Lammmersville School Foundation event. Do you think it would be unreasonable to expect you couldn't have doubled or more that figure had you been able to utilize the rules in place here?
I'm not sure, only because the Lammmersville event is held not on a school site, and alcohol is served at the event, and I believe that helps the event.
And how much did you raise again?
24,000-ish.
In one evening?
Do you know
At a school with 220 students. by
And
the way.
that's exactly my point is this is, I'm not saying we should jump into this with both feet, but I'm also saying, again, I don't see a reason we can't look at this as an opportunity for a case where under a very controlled environment, we give an organization that may have had a lot of experience putting on events of this nature an opportunity and see what becomes of it. Not a wholesale, let's go and let's do this. A one shot, let's see what we can do. Let's see what benefit it provides. Let's see what possible detriment it provides. Again, I get there's the liability issue, but really, at some point, I just don't, I'm always afraid of not taking a chance that's reasonable and measured.
I don't think that the difficulties are just the liability issue. I mean, I looked at it and I said, knowing what quote unquote appropriate state and local permits are, developing a process whereby staff can efficiently and effectively verify that the applicant actually has quote unquote appropriate state and local permits, knowing what is meant by the requirement that students are not on the grounds as opposed to at the event. There's, that's vague. And then finally, increased wear and tear on the staff to manage this process. I see all of those as difficulties. However, as a, as a longtime foundation and support organization, officer, supporter, try to get it going, I don't think that we as a board, like you're saying, I don't think that we can just reject it out of hand. What I will say is, given the potential, potential for increased fundraising, which I don't see, like the LSF function, I would not argue that we could get more attendance at the event at an elementary school or at the high school than we did at the church that we had it at. But so the one benefit to the foundation is, well, they don't have to pay the facilities fees would be reduced if that's what the facility committee and the board decides what we're going to do if they have alcohol. That being said, if we can't see a clear path to a procedure and a process that we are comfortable with, that will protect district assets, minimize risk, and not pose too great a burden on district staff, I'm going to err on the side of caution. And I'm probably the one that wants to be able to do something like this the most after all of my interaction. No offense, Dave, you and I are, on boards for the support organizations. I'm saying I'm one of the ones that want it the most. And yet, I am not here as a foundation board member. I am here as a school board member.
And I agree with parts of everything that's been said. I worry about the liability and all the other issues that have been mentioned. I also understand that the foundations and other support groups here in Mountain House are hamstrung when it comes to events because there's no place else. Lammmersville does it in Tracy. Lammmersville's kind of halfway between Mountain House and Tracy. The people are used to going different places. The people in Mountain House don't seem to be willing to go. I know that the different foundations from all the schools here in Mountain House have tried to do events in Tracy, in Livermore, in everywhere else, and they fizzle out because people don't want to drive the 10, 15, 20, whatever miles it is to the event and then back home. And I think that's one reason why I would really like to see us not pass this necessarily, but investigate it thoroughly and make an informed decision before we, bring it in or throw it out. I think we need to investigate it thoroughly. And as far as I understand the lawyer's position, but that's typically lawyer's position, is the liability, don't do it.
From the dawn of time,
yes,
alcohol has not been permitted on school campuses.
But the wisdom of the state has decided that now it can be.
Okay, there's your first mistake, Mr. Pombo.
It was technically the wisdom of the state that did that too, but I just,
It makes me nervous,
and
that's all.
I would say, I don't think there's anything wrong with being nervous, cautious, and measured. I agree with every one of those things. I think if we looked at an opportunity for the upcoming school year, for one event that is properly planned out and given enough future time to get through all of the planning concerns that might occur. I think we should look to invite an opportunity for folks to do that who might be able to submit a proposal to us, what their plan is, how they plan to go through it, what their steps would be, and to have measured deadlines to say, okay, if we don't see this by this, we don't see this by this, then we don't want to do it. But I will tell you that the one event that we tried to have locally that they started to try to plan out of town and ended up having here at the CSD building because we managed to get one of the landlords to let us use a room, only happened because of that. No one wanted to drive, and it seems silly. It's 15 minutes. It seems silly. No one wants to drive 15 minutes, but you can't deal with what we should be doing, and we have to deal with the reality. And I do. I believe a boosters event, I actually, what I would love to see is an umbrella event for all of our foundations and boosters clubs to say, here's an opportunity to do something substantial that we can utilize for a lot of groups rather than just one, and see what we can do as a result of that. And I do think that if we allow the groups that exist here in Mountain House, between the foundations or groups or clubs, whatever one has it, they have enough experience that I do think we could get a measured plan that would meet all of our address all of our concerns. And I would just like to see us give them an opportunity. That's all.
Well, I agree with what you're saying. I think that next year is putting the cart before the horse, because a lot of the questions in this brief still haven't been answered. And CSBA hasn't even drafted a policy yet. So, I mean, although the Assembly bill passed,
There's a lot of miles to go between
we're a
here
ways off.
and an event on a school ground campus with alcohol.
absolutely.
And which is why I suggested we keep our options open and investigate this. And as far as it was mentioned, the permits that are needed, and I know from experience that you need to get a ABC permit from the Alcohol Beverage Control Board, which requires that the local police organization, San Joaquin Sheriff here, has to sign off on it. They have to know about the event, know how many people are going to be there, know, what your agenda or what your night is going to look like, and they will recommend if you need security guards and all the rest of it. It's not just,
I can tell you, I would never support anything like this if there wasn't going to be security on campus to make sure that kids weren't there.
Absolutely.
I mean, it would have to be that way. And now you're talking about an additional cost
To
for
the
that
organization.
foundation, so, or the organization. So, I think there's a lot more to come. I'll get in touch with CSBA Government Relations and see if I can find out. I wish I would have thought of it at the board meeting, but I'll find out and find out what their direction they're going and what they're going to try and recommend for policy.
Maybe we can ask the attorney to alert us if any school district does pass any kind of policy, just so we can look at it and see what's in there. Because if they're not getting it from CSBA, then they're probably writing it with their legal counsel.
And this came from the firm, but I mean, we need to make contact with our local folks and, who in Walnut Creek, and see if we can just kind of put them on notice that we want to hear more.
Well, and I think some of the issues regarding their concerns about lack of clarity, lack of focus in some of the definitions of these terms, well, that's what their job is, to provide us what they think it is. Do they mean on campus? Do they mean in the building? Do they mean in the room? What is it that they believe the state is talking about? Because there's actually a way to go and do the legislative history to find out what they were thinking about, what discussion happened during the meetings, and the lawyers should be able to find that out for us and give us a little bit more clarity on some of these other questions.
Well, and I like how in the brief it talks about contacting your legal counsel. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're our legal counsel. That's why we wanted the brief.
And being that it's so vague, I'd like someone for another district to be the test case.
Well, the Assembly bill was approved. There's a lot of rumbling already about it because people know it's out there. So it's good that we talk about it, and I guess more to follow on this. When I hear more, or when Dr. Nicholas hears more, we'll get it back to the board. Item C is Technology Sustainability Plan for the Educational Technology Draft.
So I'm really excited about this presentation. A lot of good thinking. There's a lot of work that happens in districts, but this one required a lot of thinking. It's taking where you're at and where you want to be and trying to figure out all the pieces that are needed along the way. And so I'm proud to introduce our CBO to present a draft of our tech sustainability plan.
Right. When I was originally assigned to this project, I felt like one of these little people staring at my computer screen. I didn't even know where to start. with the sustainability plan, kind of reached out to other district CBOs and said, what are you doing? And none of them had something to cheat from. So I did reach out to
It's not cheating, it's leveraging.
leveraging, thank you. So obviously, what was our goal? What did we intend to do creating a technology sustainability plan? So obviously, we wanted to recommend a plan for ongoing 21st century learning and technology for all of the students in this district to be able to have technology and to be able to sustain it and to be able to afford it. So it meant reaching out to, she made it.
Two? Well, thank you very much for making it.
Yes.
I know it's hard juggling some of the stuff going on, so thank you. Appreciate you making it.
And I was very disappointed that I didn't get to go watch you play at the concert.
Yes.
So building the plan, I actually reached out, Dr. Nicholas had given me the idea of reaching out to Jorge Arteaga, who's the director of IT for Merced Union High School, who El Capitan was one of their high schools that started the one-on-one initiative and started expanding out to their other high schools. And Ben Faubert was able to work with him. And he and I started conversations and started putting together what you have in your board packet. And I just kind of kept building on it with the other staff members within the district, growing and feeding into this. I plugged in enrollment projections, gathering inventory from bills that we had been paying, working with the IT staff, looking at the infrastructure that we had in place, looking at the age of the infrastructure, finding that we were in desperate need of upgrading our switches, organizing the information in this draft plan, and then of course knowing that this was going to be something that would have to be flexible. We would have to continue making changes, upgrading enrollment possibility. High school, I found that the enrollment didn't increase throughout this school year as I had anticipated. So my original projections in that plan of a 5% growth dropped down to a 3%. So before you even receive your first draft, that may also change. And then my final slide, my long presentation, one of the recommendations that we will need to do is to upgrade that infrastructure. And in your draft talks about that expensive cost of close to $300,000 to upgrade several of our sites that have not had these switches replaced since Questa, since their build, and we found these switches will not be maintained by SCHO beyond July of 2015. So you will be seeing that coming forth. I definitely want to, now that we started this project 6 months ago, now looking back 3 months ago, these sustainability plans are starting to come out. So trying to get these ideas for leveraging. Seeing that they're doing school sites by grade level by fiscal year. So that's something that I would like to add into here. Lammmersville just received another donation from the school foundation to actually they're going to be one-on-one at Lammmersville School. So we hope that we will have our other schools at that point someday, but it will take some time to do so. And now with our career technical grant, we can help assist that. And so that will also have to be built into this plan as well. So there becomes that flexibility that will need to be taken into consideration. So you have a draft. Obviously, it's never been done before. So if there's something you feel needs to be added into this plan, maybe that's something that doesn't need to be addressed. I know on page, might be different in your packet, page 145, I wanted to make sure that I included costs that are already part of the LCFF, part of our LCAP, ongoing costs that are already built into the budget, so they're not new additional costs. So when you're looking at the sustainability plan, it's just to sustain the Chromebooks, those type of hardwares, the computer labs, those kinds of needs, not necessarily ongoing software, everything listed in there.
So I think you've done a great job at a first stab at this, especially since you had no samples to look at.
Yes, that was.
I'm so sorry for you.
It was a challenge to begin with, but after I got rolling and started pulling it together and talking to people and working with people, it started to fall into place.
And I think as you move on and you're talking, you're going to think of more things to add to this, and we might also, but this is a wonderful first step. Thank you so much for all of your hard work on that.
Yeah, no, it's difficult to deal with technology when it's changing, it's every 6 months. Actually, one of the presenters at one of our annual education conference, they said that the technology changes every 6 months and it reduces in price every 6 months. So that's always a good thing. But I do appreciate the fact that when you, strategic thinking, when you came up with replacement, you did it not all at once, incrementally and smart way to do it. So yeah, very, very good start. And again, we're starting to move into a professional school district.
Yes.
If I could add just a couple of questions or clarification points, I do think we have to get away from upgrading 2 schools the same calendar year for computers. That is going to get ridiculously expensive as those schools hit capacity. I mean, we're okay right now because.
Are you referring to the computer labs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Quest is
We've
not
already
there.
been identifying that there will be a need to do that.
So that was one of my concerns. The next one I had was, I'm just not a big believer in the overall cost of cloud-based storage backup systems right now. I still think they're fairly cost prohibitive at $4,000 a year when you're considering you could get a backup system and server for maybe 2 or 3 times that's going to last you more than 2 or 3 years. I would just like to see us explore alternative options until that cost can come down, because like I say, $4,000 a year to back up the data. Well, I know some of the data is important. I don't know exactly how much data we're talking about backing up. I don't know exactly the dependency on instantaneous reaccess to that data that we might be needing to pay for, and restoration under a catastrophic failure.
Right.
What we'd be looking at as far as those kinds of costs and what's built into that part of it. And I know I'm talking about.
No, and I've been trying to reach out, trying to get different ideas from other information technology departments as well. We've been working with our County Office of Education and saying, what do you think of these proposals that I'm getting? Besides just trying to make that decision on our own.
And if you could help me, I didn't see it, and maybe I just missed it, but I didn't see discussions about not just the schools, but the actual district office. This needs to account for the fact
That's true too.
These computers need to be replaced. This system will need to get updated.
And that was one of the things, this is the first step. It talks about the educational technology piece, but I totally agree that we do need to implement.
I mean, if the district is operating on systems that are older and less sophisticated than the schools are, that actually does start to create a problem.
She's getting rid of the Apple IIe's.
And along with the growth at the schools means growth at the district office. Also, you're going to have more employees, more technology needs.
Yeah, so I'll probably have another section in here that's not related to the educational technology.
Well, I don't know that it's not educational. I mean, in the end, we're
that's
serving.
true.
It's all part of a plan that we need to serve. And if the website's not working, we're not serving our students, and that's more likely here than it is somewhere else. If they can't access Aries or some other stuff that's run through the district office, and I don't know exactly. That's part of my problem for myself is I don't know exactly how much starts here and stays here or would stay here, and I just don't think you can eliminate. It's all part of the same system and same process. I do think it needs to be included.
Right, but in the field, ed tech usually refers to what the kids are doing. You know, the teachers planning their presentation and them on, the students actually on their
It's
devices.
definitely an additional component that he's identified to add into this plan, so
I
I'll make sure to
just
do
think it
that.
properly belongs in there.
District
for us.
office has nothing to do with education.
No, you guys didn't do anything here.
That's right, what am I here for?
Go ahead. And then, there's also an opportunity, I think, to look at other options as far as with regards to the high school and the high school funding about a rollback system between the Chromebooks that are there, utilizing those to move down and replacing at the top.
And we've been discussing that too.
So, okay. All right, that's.
We're trying to come
I'll
up
stop.
with.
Stop
No.
nitpicking. I apologize.
We want to hear.
I wanted to thank you as well. It's obviously a lot of work to put this together. I did have one question that I didn't understand. It's on page 145 of the packet, so 147, I believe, of the PDF.
Yes.
At the very top, the 2015-16 to 2016-17, both of the 3-year estimated ongoing instructional budget. The instructional budget is the same for 2015-16 and 2016-17, even though projected student pop goes from 827 to 1146 to 1295.
And it will adjust. I knew with grant money coming in, I knew these numbers would change.
Okay, all right.
But no, good notice.
And I'm sorry I didn't say thank you. I should.
Oh, you're welcome. No, and the intent is this money that we will be putting aside for future replacement should be kept separate, be maintained, monitored, kept separately, and then rolled over from year to year and potentially adjusted. If we see that this is not enough or too much, then obviously we can identify it as we update this plan.
How often can we anticipate updates?
However often I mean, obviously with enrollments, that's going to make enrollment will have a big impact on this plan.
Sure.
And age of the equipment, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. This is the first year we've been able to watch how many Chromebooks have been damaged, and we were pleasantly surprised it's not as many as we thought. They had a 1-year warranty. We're also now looking at potentially moving to Dell possibly, which has a 2-year warranty included in with the cost, so that also was appealing. It did take some time to really notice how many problems we would be
While you're up
having.
here, I don't know if you can answer the question, but what's approximately, just ballpark figure, what's the ratio? How many kids are bringing their own devices? Do you know? Sorry, I know. 10%? Okay.
And I think the list of repair broken ones district-wide was about 77, which is not bad district-wide.
Okay.
Unless they hadn't logged them all in.
That's 600 that we started the high school with, and then 1,100 that we infused, and then the additional 1-to-1 classrooms, which is 12. You start adding that up, that's a large number of computers, and you get 71, you said?
76 is what I saw in the log.
Major repairs or minor or?
Broken screens is what I was seeing.
Hey, what, can we get some of that information in those Friday updates? Just
Sure.
kind of ballpark. If
I'll
you get
have
a
the
bu- you know,
IT
if you get
department
a
put that in their
influx
Friday
of-
updates.
Of the
It's a good idea.
broken computer, just so we can kind of keep an eye on the technology piece.
Perfect.
Because I know it's
I like the idea.
rapidly changing. That might be a good opportunity to just kind of keep us in the loop.
Okay.
And this is so nice to finally be looking at sustainability. You know, being in education for such a long time, we grabbed on, oh my goodness, this is wonderful, let's get the computers, and there were no plans in any districts on the repair and the insurance and replacement and how are you going to fund all of this. So this is a wonderful, wonderful step. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And not to be left out, thank you.
He's not a man of many words, but they are important. Always good. Moving on to calendar, please take note that our next regular board meeting is on Wednesday, April 22nd. All the committee dates. Item D. I'm sorry.
Policies.
Why did I cross that out? Okay, I'm sorry. Information discussion, item D is a first reading of updated and additional board policy and administrative regulations.
It came across our radar that a regulation came out that kindergarten and TK had to have the same amount of hours. We currently don't have that program, so we, along with a lot of other districts, are making that adjustment. We're bringing this for a first read to formalize the change of our policy.
So my only question is, were all of the changes just straight changes, or were there any options in what came from CSBA?
I'll let Dr. Gill answer that question, but I believe this is CSBA's recommendation straight up.
In reading it, I couldn't imagine where there would have been any options, but I always ask that.
There is no really other option. The ed code says kinder TK should mimic kinder.
That's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is what came from CSBA. Sometimes in the draft it says option A, option B.
There's no options. There's no option other than state says if you really want, if you have any hardship, you can apply for a waiver.
Okay.
But we couldn't really prove any hardships.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Comments?
Okay, I mentioned calendar 22nd is our next regular board meeting, and all the committee dates are listed. With that, Trustee Nielsen.
I move we adjourn to closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're now in closed session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I too am sorry that I couldn't go to the